Some things you do can contort your quilt sandwich, so when in doubt, please run a quick test and think things through as much as you can. Here I'm going to show you how I do that. So I've got this. So what I'm going to do is wash this up and dry it on high, and we'll see how it looks tomorrow. So here's my stitch density test again, and you can see that it's stitched in different ways. This first area is sort of echo quilted. I don't like to be too uniform. This is a peacock feather with sort of echo quilting around it. This section is stitched in drifts, but I've left voids all these places. I've got sort of a tree trunk over here with some cell wall stitching. This is a leaf with a bit of sketching in the vein area, and then all this void area. Here I've done a row of triangles, a line of bird's nests, and then this kind of stone wall where you free motion quilt with a zigzag. I'm going to press this, and then I'll show it to you on the mat with my quilting ruler. So I've got this pressed nice and flat. Before it was 18 by 12 inches. So across this width, I've lost between 5/8 and 3/4 of an inch. And going this way, I've lost 3/8 to 1/2 inch, just washing and drying on high. If I put my ruler on here, each of these squares was 6 by 6. And if I line up to my Sharpie lines, you can see that these 3 pieces, where they're all over quilted, even this one with these voids, are pretty well controlled and square. And then this one that has the tree and cell walls is also pretty well controlled and square. This one, where I've got big voids in the quilting in both these locations, you can see that it really shrinks up here, and I think I could trim that straight and have it look nice. But if I quilted in this area around the edges, it would tend not to give you these poochy areas where the fabric is baggy and just sort of decides, along with the batting, where to crease. This is a case where I would quilt that, but if I didn't want it to show much, I would use a matching thread to the fabric. And so this would pop, and around the edges would fade into the background. I would use cream color or white color thread. Here, I've done this line of triangles and left this area void, as well as this area, and you can see how it's behaving. This line of bird's nest is fine. I think it's really this one, which I love this stitch, but you have to be careful where and when you use it because it really wants to pull your fabric together. That zigzag does that, and it's probably increased because it's on the edge. And if I stitched all the way across this piece of fabric from edge to edge, you would see the fabric pinching in on both sides, and it would tend to bunch up my piece all the way across. So that's just something to be aware of as you're trying to keep your quilt flat. Everything you do will have a slightly different effect. Unless you're going for something different, you'll want your stitch density similar enough that you can keep your quilt pleasingly flat. If we came and added a tree branch on top of this, we likely could do it without causing too much trouble. What I've done here is I've taken and stitched on a tree trunk with a branch, and then I re-washed it. And remember that cotton really does shrink progressively, so the more you wash something, the more it will shrink over time. So it's pronounced everything that happened before even a little bit more. But I wanted to show you that adding this did change this a little, but not that much. And then I did a whole nother piece that's another 4 6 by 6 inch pieces and washed them. You can see here I've done a whole bunch of really kind of a meander with points and loops, and I like to do at least the points when I'm meander quilting because it really gives you a place to rest. If you're doing a very tight stipple, it really has to be perfect. And I maybe could have quilted perfect when I was 35, or maybe I think I started quilting around 37 or 38. But I can't anymore. It's been almost 20 years and I really can't quilt as well as I could in the beginning. And so I wanted to point out that if you put some points on purpose into your quilting, then it gives you a chance to stop and rest. And also, I wanted to point out that leaving some voids is nice. It does a little bit affect how much the fabric shrinks up, but if it's quilted all the way around, it will usually behave pretty well. This one here, where I've quilted this kind of swirly stuff, this is in this light blue thread, and I've quilted this, and then I've quilted it all over with a yellow thread, and you can see how the scroll really pops, and then all of this behaves really well. And then this one, I've gone ahead, and this is that bobbin drawing, and it had a few spots that were a bit troublesome where it was loose, but because I knew I was doing it on this tree trunk, and it's this sort of gnarly thread to begin with, I thought that those little baggy areas would look okay. I think they look okay. Not that this would be my piece, but if this were a tree with this on there and then stitching around it, I think that this would look really nice as this kind of highlight to these places where knot holes are, where the branches were trimmed back and things like that. But anyhow, I've done this kind of thread sketched tree, and then I've just sort of thread painted just as fast as I could in the background, just to sort of show you that there are a few voids. And then you can see that this piece is fairly distorted, but it's also pretty flat. And so I think if we trimmed it exactly straight, or not straight, if we were going to do a wavy binding, it would behave pretty nicely on the wall, especially if you blocked it before you hung it. And then this is an example of the Stonewall quilting all over. It is distorting somewhat, and it's really distorted from here over. But I really like this, and I've put it in a lot of a series that I've done called Aspens at Dusk, and I always had one big section of this. It makes such an impact. The only thing else I wanted to show you was, as far as these two trees are concerned, this one, my background would be coming right up to the tree, and this one, it's going under, and I really prefer this look. I've thought many times about putting the tree on and then doing the background, and my backgrounds are so elaborate, and I would miss that, and I don't think I could do it as elaborately if I put on the tree and then dealt with the background. And so I do it like this, and then I just try to not overdo it so that I don't end up with a piece that is so puckered and waffled on the wall that it no longer looks good. There are some activities for this lesson. Please check them out. Thanks.